Hello and welcome to the second video in this series, Initial Comprehensive Training, Public Partnerships. Public Partnerships, or PPL, is the fiscal agent for DMAS, meaning that they are responsible for paying your attendants' wages. They are contracted through the state of Virginia to handle the consumer-directed delivery model. As fiscal agent, PPL assumes all financial responsibilities of paying your attendant, including tax obligations, etc. PPL also takes care of the paperwork to set up the employer of record with the IRS. They will collect the EIN number from the IRS so that you can begin hiring the attendants of your choice. In order for PPL to do this, during intake, your service facilitator will ask the EOR's Social Security number, their legal name as it appears on their Social Security card, and the address of the EOR if they do not live with the consumer. We will then forward this information to PPL, and as a result, in 7 to 10 business days, PPL will produce an employer of record packet that will be mailed directly to the EOR. The EOR packet contains all forms required to put the employer of record in place. All forms must be signed where indicated and mailed or faxed back to PPL for processing. This is usually a very smooth process unless you have had or currently have an existing EIN number with the IRS. If the potential EOR has had an EIN number in the past and that number or business is not currently active, then there are extra steps that will need to be taken in order for that person to be established as the employer of record. If the individual has a current EIN number for a business that is currently active, then you will need to find another person to act as the EOR. In review, we know that the EOR is established through PPL, the fiscal agent for DMAS, and that the EOR must be over 18. Now, if the individual receiving services is over 18 and cognitively able to direct their own care, they can be their own EOR. Let's chat about some of the responsibilities of the EOR. We have already determined that they will execute the EOR paperwork from PPL to become established as the employer of record. They will also, in conjunction with the attendant, complete the employee or attendant paperwork so that the attendant can begin work. They will also review the employer-employee agreement with each attendant. The EOR will establish schedules and tasks for each attendant in line with the plan of care and provide a safe working environment for that attendant. They will also approve and submit signed timesheets to PPL for the attendant to be paid. If the consumer has a copay that has been set by the Department of Social Services, it is the responsibility of the EOR to understand this. Virginia sets an upper income limit, and if the recipient's monthly income is greater than the allowed amount, then there will be a copay. If the monthly income falls below the limit, then there will be no copay. The copay is determined by the Department of Social Services, and they will also notify you if a copay exists. This usually does not affect children, as they typically do not have a great income. Now let's talk about how everyone is identified in PPL system. PPL will assign a consumer ID number. This number is different than the Medicaid number, but equally as important. This number will require when processing timesheets for your employees or attendants, or for any communication that you will have with PPL. Toddlers to grandparents will email this number to you when we receive it. It will also be located on the second page of your EOR packet. Your attendant will also be assigned an attendant ID number. This number, in addition to the consumer ID number, will also be required when processing timesheets. When you receive your attendant's employment packet, the attendant's ID number will be located on the first page of the agreement between consumer and attendant within the employment forms themselves. Should you need to contact PPL, their local number is 804-200-4001, or you can always email their customer service. Now let's talk a bit about attendance. We have covered what an attendant can do in the plan of care, but what are the requirements to be an attendant? Well, they must be at least 18 years of age. They need to have the skills to perform the services required in the plan of care. For example, if the the individual receiving services requires help getting in and out of the bath, then the attendant should not have a bad back. Makes sense, right? The attendant must have basic reading, writing, and math skills, and also possess a valid Social Security number and be authorized to work in the United States. They need to demonstrate the capability to perform the activities as outlined in the plan of care, or be willing to receive training in performing the activity. The attendant must submit to a criminal history records check, and if the consumer is a minor, the VDSS CPS registry check. In the event of illness, emergency, or other incident preventing the attendant from coming to work, they need to be able to notify the EOR as soon as possible so that assistance can be obtained from someone else. This will be a part of your agreement with the attendant, but this also means that they need to have a way to call you. They must maintain all information regarding the individual and respect his or her privacy. The attendant must be willing to accept the reimbursement that is made by PPL as payment in full for the CD services provided. Be aware that the reimbursement is set by the Virginia General Assembly and is not negotiable. The attendant may not be paid any extra above this rate. For the Northern Virginia area, it is $11.47, and the rest of the state is $8.86. So the question now is, who can be an attendant? Can a relative, as I cannot find a suitable person? Absolutely. Keep in mind, however, that a spouse cannot be an attendant as they are legally responsible for their care. A parent of a minor child cannot be an attendant as the same rule applies. The parent is legally responsible for the child. Once the child turns 18 and is considered an adult, then the parent possibly can become an attendant. Please note that there is no cap on the number of attendants that you may have. As we all know, sometimes it takes a village.